Hey everyone, before we dive in, I just want to thank you for being here. These stories are based on real emotions, real heartbreak, and lessons that stay with us. If you enjoy powerful stories about love, betrayal, and redemption, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Complicated Relationships. Your support helps me keep sharing the kind of stories that hit straight to the heart. All right, let's begin. They say when a man goes to war, he leaves more than just his home behind. He leaves a part of his soul. 7 months ago, I left mine on a desert floor next to my teammate, my brother in arms, after he took his own right in front of me. I begged him not to. I told him I was his family. He smiled through trembling lips and whispered, "Then don't watch." But I did. I watched as he pulled the trigger, and in that moment, something inside me died, too. I carried that image every single day. It replayed in my head when I closed my eyes, when the gunfire stopped, when the nights got quiet enough for guilt to speak. I hadn't slept in weeks. Food tasted like sand. Every laugh around the base felt distant, fake, because I couldn't find anything to smile about anymore. When my daughters would video call me, I'd just stare at the screen, their tiny faces lighting up, their voices full of love. I wanted to smile, to say Daddy loves you, but all I could think about was the man I couldn't save. The military psychologist told me I needed time, but what I needed was peace. He wrote trauma leave on the paper. I called it a second chance. Before I left, one of the older guys, a veteran who'd seen it all, stopped me by the gate. "Listen," he said, lowering his voice. "Military wives are the biggest snakes, son. Don't ever think loyalty means the same thing to them." I laughed it off. I told him not Amanda. "She's different." He just stared back and said, "They all say that." His words echoed in my head the entire flight home. But I wasn't afraid. I was determined to prove him wrong. Because love like mine, it had to be enough. I didn't tell Amanda when I'd be coming home. Part of me wanted it to be a surprise. The kind of cinematic reunion you see in videos where soldiers come home and their families run into their arms, crying with joy. I had it all planned. A vacation, gifts for the twins, even a handwritten letter I'd spent hours writing on deployment. It said, "You were my reason to survive." When the car pulled up to our driveway, my hand shook. 7 months. 7 long months of dust, noise, death, and now I was finally home. The house looked perfect, trimmed lawn, the garden Amanda loved, lights still on inside. My chest swelled with pride. She kept everything together. I grabbed my duffel and walked to the door quietly. The air smelled like rain and lavender. That same lavender she used to spray on our bed sheets before I left. I smiled. For the first time in months, I smiled. But as I stepped inside, something felt off. Too quiet. No cartoons. No laughter. Not even music. "Babe." I called softly. No answer. I set my bag down. My boots echoed faintly against the hardwood floor. I checked the kitchen. Empty. Living room. Spotless. Untouched. My pulse started to rise. Not from fear, but from instinct. That strange sixth sense the military drills into you when something isn't right. Then I heard it. Faint, muffled sounds. At first, I thought maybe she was watching something upstairs until I heard her voice. Soft, gasping, moaning. It hit me like a sniper round to the chest. I froze mid-step, my heart hammering so violently that I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. No, it couldn't be. Not her. Not Amanda. I moved quietly up the staircase, each creak of the wood screaming louder than my own thoughts. The closer I got, the clearer the sounds became. Whispers. A man's voice. Hers, breathless, pleading, not in pain but in pleasure. My throat tightened. My vision blurred. The bedroom door was locked. It had a fingerprint scanner. Something I'd installed so we'd never lose keys. A small symbol of trust between us. I pressed my thumb. It beeped green. The door clicked open. And in that moment, everything I believed in, everything I fought for, everything I was shattered in one breath. Amanda was in bed, her body tangled with another man. My best friend. The best man at our wedding. The kid I met in first grade, the brother I never had. For a heartbeat, the world went silent. Then she screamed, "Please stop. Please stop." But it was too late. The soldier in me had gone still, but the man, the husband, the father, was already broken. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Michael, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. Her words bounced off the walls, useless and empty. I just stood there, staring at the woman I'd once promised forever to, now trembling in another man's shadow. Cole grabbed his clothes in silence, muttering something about not meaning to. Not meaning to? They had months to mean it. Letters, calls, support. All of it carefully disguised as concern for a soldier's lonely wife. Amanda sobbed into the sheets, clutching them like they were her last defense. Please, say something. You're scaring me, she whispered. But I couldn't speak. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was hollow. Just gone. The man who'd left for war was already dead. The man standing there now was just a ghost, watching everything he loved collapse in front of him. She crawled toward me on her knees, tears streaming down her face. I missed you so much, she cried. I was lonely, Michael. You don't understand what it's like sleeping alone every night, wondering if you're alive. Her words sliced deep, but I didn't flinch, because loneliness doesn't excuse betrayal. I had been alone too, half a world away, with nothing but sand, silence, and gunfire. And I never broke. Cole tried to reach for his keys, but I stepped between him and the door. Not so fast, Sergeant, I said, voice calm but trembling. You don't get to walk out like that. His eyes darted toward Amanda's, and I saw it. The silent panic of two people who'd been caught, their secret collapsing right in front of me. Amanda's face was pale, her lips trembling. I'll explain everything, she begged. Just please don't hate me. But I already did. Not because she cheated, but because she looked at me like I was the intruder. That was it. That one look, the look of guilt disguised as fear, snapped whatever was left of my restraint. Before I even knew what I was doing, I lunged. My fist connected with Cole's jaw, the sound sharp and sickening. He stumbled backward, crashing into the dresser, sending a framed photo of our wedding shattering onto the floor. Michael, stop. Amanda screamed, clutching my arm. But I shoved her off. My rage wasn't just about them. It was about every sleepless night, every letter unanswered, every promise she'd broken while I was out fighting for people I didn't even know. Cole swung back, weak, sloppy, and caught me across the cheek. That only fueled me more. I hit him again, harder this time, until his nose burst red. Does it hurt? I shouted, breath ragged. Because it should. Amanda was screaming now, begging me to stop, her voice cracking under the weight of panic and guilt. Michael, please. Please. I froze. For a split second, I saw my reflection in the mirror, wild eyes, clenched fists, trembling with hate. That wasn't me. That wasn't the man who'd gone to war to protect his home. Cole stumbled to his feet. You're insane, he hissed, grabbing his phone. You just assaulted me. I'm pressing charges. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Do whatever you have to, I said quietly. Just remember why I did it. By the time the police arrived, Amanda was sobbing uncontrollably, begging them not to take me away. But the bruised man standing beside her had already made the call. They cuffed me right there in my own living room, the same one where I'd dreamed about coming home, holding my daughters, and finding peace. The ride to the station was silent. No one said a word. I just stared out the window, watching the sunset bleed across the sky like it was mocking me. They processed me quickly. My military record worked in my favor. First offense, domestic incident, released the same day. But walking out of that station, the world felt different. I wasn't a husband anymore. I wasn't even a man with a home. I was just a soldier without a war and a lover without a reason. If you've ever trusted someone so completely, only to have them destroy you in one moment, hit that like button. Because what happens next, it's darker than anyone deserves. That night was colder than any I'd spent overseas. The silence between us was heavier than gunfire. Amanda sat at the kitchen table in my old t-shirt, her eyes swollen and red. She hadn't stopped crying since I walked in. Every time she tried to speak, her voice would break, and all I'd hear was another why, echoing in my head. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I just watched her, pacing, shaking, clutching her mug like it might stop her from falling apart. Michael, she whispered, please say something. Anything. I finally looked up. You killed everything I believed in. I said quietly. She broke down completely, burying her face in her hands. I know I did. I hate myself. Every second I think about what I've done, I want to disappear. Her sorrow wasn't the kind that asked for forgiveness. It was the kind that begged for punishment. She followed me around the house for days, desperate to make me listen, cooking my favorite meals, leaving apology letters on my pillow, sending the kids to her mother's so she could fix things. But every time she touched my arm or whispered my name, I flinched. It wasn't disgust. It was mourning. Mourning the woman I'd loved, the family we'd built, the home that no longer felt like mine. At night, she'd cry in the dark, whispering prayers I couldn't hear. Sometimes I caught her staring at me, eyes hollow, whispering to herself, I deserve this. I deserve this pain. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I'd see that image again, that her body tangled with his, her face lost in pleasure that I hadn't seen in years, and that pity turned to poison. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was a reminder of everything I'd lost. One night, around 2 a.m., I found her sitting on the floor by the bed, holding my old military dog tags against her chest. Her voice was small, trembling. I can't sleep, she said. Every time I close my eyes, I see your face that day. I hear you drop your bag. I feel everything breaking. For a moment, I almost reached out to her. Almost. But then I remembered she had already reached for someone else. Days turned into weeks, but the ache never dulled. The house still smelled like her perfume, a haunting sweetness that clung to every room. Amanda tried to keep life moving as if we could just rebuild, but every look, every word, every breath between us carried the weight of what she'd done. I slept on the couch now, not because I wanted distance, but because the bed felt polluted. She still slept there, curled on one side, clutching my pillow like it could replace me. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find her sitting near the stairs, whispering apologies to the dark. I ruined everything. She'd mumble, half asleep, half broken, and then she'd cry until her body shook. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. There was nothing left inside me to give. She stopped wearing makeup. Her hair, once perfectly styled, now hung in messy tangles. I catch her staring at old photos, the ones of us smiling, holding our newborns, laughing under the porch light. She'd trace her finger over my face like she could somehow erase the shame between us. One morning, I found her sitting at the table again, her eyes hollow. She slid a note across to me. I'll do anything to make this right, it said. Below it, in her handwriting, even if it means you never forgive me. I folded the note and said nothing. Inside, I was unraveling. Every night, I'd replay that day. Walking in, hearing her laughter, seeing Cole's uniform on my floor. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. She had destroyed the image of me. The strong husband, the soldier, the man who fought to keep his family safe. And now I couldn't even protect my own home. Amanda began following me around like a shadow. She begged to talk, begged for me to scream, to hit something, anything to release what I was holding inside. But silence was worse than rage, and she knew it. One evening, she grabbed my hand as I walked past her. Please, Michael, she whispered through tears. I can't live with you hating me like this. I stared at her for a long moment, and for the first time, she looked small. Not the confident woman I'd married, but someone haunted by her own choices. I don't hate you, I finally said. Her eyes lit up for a second, until I added, I just don't love you anymore. Her knees gave out. She sank to the floor, sobbing so hard I thought she'd break in half. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain. I felt calm, because that's when I knew what I needed to do next. By now, I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the way people expect. I wasn't screaming, breaking things, or lashing out. I was empty, and in that emptiness, I found clarity. Amanda still followed me around, wringing her hands, whispering apologies, begging for forgiveness. Every word she said bounced off me like water off stone. Then came the revelations. Cole, the man I trusted since first grade, started slipping. Not on purpose, not maliciously, but in frustration. You need to see it for yourself, he said one night, his voice trembling. And for the first time, I saw the full picture. Not just the day I walked in on them, but the years of manipulation, the lies, the way they played me from start. Amanda had been cheating since the beginning of our relationship. Every gift, every smile, every promise, a carefully staged act. I realized she hadn't just betrayed me. She had built a life on my blind trust. And the kids. Questions I'd never dared ask started pounding in my mind. Were they even mine? I remember my own physical traits, the small details she'd always laughed off. I had never noticed, or perhaps never wanted to notice. I spent nights walking the house, replaying every memory, every conversation, every laugh, seeing them now in a new, horrifying light. Amanda had made me the provider, the caretaker, the fool, and everything I'd loved had been leveraged against me. Yet she cried constantly. I watched her, and a small part of me wanted to comfort her, but I knew better. Comfort would be permission, and she didn't deserve permission. That's when I started planning. Quietly, patiently, like a soldier plotting strategy, not for war against the world, but for the reckoning she had brought upon herself. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to strike. All I needed was the truth and the perfect moment. Because when she realized the consequences of her actions, it would be worse than anything I could have done in anger. 2 weeks later, the truth hit me like a freight train. DNA tests, lie detectors, every possible measure to expose would have been hidden for years. I watched Amanda sit across from me, her face pale, trembling. Her eyes darted between the papers in my hands and the floor, avoiding mine at all costs. The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock, each second louder than a gunshot. I opened the first envelope. The test results stared back at me like a betrayal made flesh. My daughters, the 2 little girls I had loved with everything in me, were not mine. Not biologically. Every giggle, every milestone, every bedtime story I had read to them. Someone else's blood ran through their veins. Amanda's hands flew to her mouth. "No, it can't be," she whispered. It was. The second test confirmed it. Her affair with Cole wasn't just a moment of weakness. It had been ongoing for years. And now, she was pregnant again. I felt my world collapse in slow motion. I had loved her, protected her, built a life for her, and these children, and every ounce of my devotion had been used against me. Cole, once my brother in arms, spoke next. "You think she loved you? You were just the caretaker, the ATM, the provider," he said coldly. "And now you see the truth." Amanda screamed. I love you." It wasn't like that. But even her lie detector results betrayed her. She was telling the truth about loving both of them, but love had no redemption here. I looked at her, really looked, and saw what years of deceit and selfishness had carved into her face. Sorrow, guilt, and the hopelessness of someone who had destroyed everything. For the first time, I realized it wasn't just her life she'd ruined. It was ours. It was mine. And it was irreversible. I left the room, letting her sob, letting the weight of her actions settle on her like a storm she could never survive. The weeks after the truth came out felt like walking through ashes. Every corner of the house whispered reminders. The laughter that once filled the kitchen, the framed photos of our happy family, the toys scattered by the stairs. Except now, they didn't belong to me. They never had. Amanda tried to hold everything together. She'd wait by the window every evening, hoping I'd walk in like before. Sometimes she'd cook my favorite meals, trying to pretend we were still a family. Other nights, I'd find her crying quietly in the girls' room, holding their tiny clothes to her face, whispering apologies no one would ever believe. But forgiveness was a luxury I couldn't afford. Cole and Amanda moved in together soon after the tests, trying to rebuild the life they'd shattered. It didn't last long. He lost his job. His car and house, both under my name, were gone. Without me, he was nothing. He'd been a parasite feeding off my generosity, and now, stripped of everything, he turned bitter. Neighbors said they fought often. Amanda's screams would echo through the neighborhood, desperate, lonely, and filled with the pain she'd once handed to me. As for me, I filed for divorce and left quietly. No shouting, no revenge, just silence, the kind that eats away at your soul until there's nothing left to break. The military helped me get counseling. I found discipline in the sky, becoming a pilot, chasing something beyond the pain. I built a new life, a real one. Years passed. I never remarried. I never stopped thinking about my daughters, even if they weren't mine. Every time I saw twins at an airport, my heart clenched. They're 9 now. When they turn 18, if they ever find me, I'll welcome them with open arms, not because of who their mother was, but because of who they were to me. Amanda tried reaching out a few times, sometimes through emails, sometimes through guilt. The last message I got from her was a photo, her and Cole with the twins. She wrote, "They still call you Daddy." I didn't reply, because the man she betrayed, the one who came home broken from war and still believed in her, that man died the day I opened that bedroom door. Now, all that's left is the silence she created and the strength I built from it. They say what goes around comes around, and I used to think that was just something people said to make sense of pain. But now I know better. Amanda got what she wanted and lost everything that mattered. And me? I learned that sometimes the cruelest revenge isn't vengeance at all. It's living better than the people who tried to destroy you. If this story hit you hard, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Comment your thoughts below. Do you think people like Amanda ever truly regret what they've done? And if you've ever been betrayed, remember, revenge doesn't always need fire. Sometimes living well is the loudest victory.